was thinking about building confidence, and first off I just wanted to say, I suppose to start with, about that what I'm going to talk to people about is a sort of amalgamation of things that I've learned through training at the Equine Psychotherapy Institute and cognitive behavioural therapy, and also just 30 years of being around horses. So it's it's a bit of a culmination of all of those things. So the first thing that really stood out to me was just about people increasing their general awareness and being grounded when they're with their horses. So in the equine assisted work that we do, we often talk about 3 steps to the present, and that's generally about using our out-breath, like horses often do, to self-regulate. So when you notice that the horses are having a big breath out, or they're having a snort and those sorts of things, often that's their way of releasing energy and self-regulating, and people can do the same thing. So I would encourage people to start every session by starting out with having 3 beautiful big out-breaths, and then just taking a minute to ground themselves, noticing the feet on the ground, how it feels to be supported by the earth, and just taking that moment to just feel supported and connected there. And then, depending on people's level of comfort, and this is going to depend on people's histories and that sort of thing, but taking a moment to notice some things that are going on around them in the environment, that's generally where people feel the most comfortable, especially if they've had a trauma history. So that's something for people to keep in mind. But noticing the sounds, the sights, the smells, the feelings that they have, sensations in the body. And then if they're able to direct that attention inwards and just notice what's present in the body, what sensations might be there, what emotions they're experiencing, and also where their head's at, so what thoughts they're noticing. And if you can take that little bit of time out to be grounded and present, I think the place that you're going to be with your horses is going to be much safer and is a much better platform for starting to build some of that confidence and relationship. Because if you're all up in your head and you're not present, it's really difficult to have that connection. So that was the first thing, and from that, perhaps noticing and naming emotions. And emotions are just information, they're energy, and horses experience them that way. They're just trying to tell you something about the situation. So, and you'll often hear people say that you shouldn't show your horse that you're scared or things like that, but horses are so finely tuned into human emotion that if you think that you can trick them by putting on a happy face, if you're feeling scared or nervous, then you're kidding yourself. And all that does then is provide the horse with a relationship or with a situation where you're being incongruent and not authentic, and that's confusing. I think you're much better off to perhaps even share with your horse how you're feeling. If you're feeling a bit nervous, tell them. Show them in a way that feels comfortable or safe and right for you, and start from that place, because it's okay to feel like that. And so often I think we get ourselves into trouble with our feelings and with confidence because we're so busy trying to not feel something that we think we shouldn't be feeling, that we're not in the moment anymore, and we're not giving ourselves an opportunity to learn from that and grow from that. So recognise it, allow it, and then move forward from there, I think. And then from that, I think about knowing your boundaries, your personal space boundaries, your emotional boundaries, and being okay with saying, yes, this is okay for me, or no, this is not okay for me. Not necessarily having to go along with something just because somebody else is doing it. And it's okay to go at your own pace. You don't have to do every little thing on the trail if that's what you're doing, if you're not ready for it. Certainly aim for that, and go a little bit outside your comfort zones if that feels okay for you, but you don't have to be pushing yourself to the absolute limits, because if things come undone, it's going to undermine your confidence and your horse's confidence. So just taking a bit of that time to know your boundaries and be okay with sharing those. And then the next thing I thought I'd talk about is, and trail riding I think is a really good example, is about being able to break things down into pieces. So if you have a particular trail or a goal in mind, have a bit of an idea of what you might expect to encounter on that trail. So maybe there'll be hills, maybe there'll be people riding bikes, maybe there'll be steps or jumps or whatever it is that you might think you're going to come across, and then break those things down, maybe starting when you're at home. So if you know that there's things out there that you're not certain about, start by practicing something similar in your own environment. So I think it could be really good to even write down some of those steps and start with the thing that you feel the most confident with, and then work up to the thing that you think's the most difficult. And once you've mastered each little step, then you can put that together in the final ride, so to speak, but much rather than confronting everything all at once. So I think breaking things down is really important, and certainly if people have had some sort of trauma or accident with their horse, that is how we would approach that. It's what we call grading in psychological terms. So it's about being able to experience something that's a little bit difficult or a little bit uncomfortable without it being overwhelming. And I think that's really important, because if you can take those little steps, you're going to get to that bigger picture much more quickly. So that's probably one of the key things for me as far as those things go. While you're doing these things, spend a bit of time. Not everything has to be results oriented or goal driven. I think it's really important to take some time out to build the relationship with the horse, with your horses. Do some things that are fun or nice. Sit in the paddock and read a book. Just watch their behaviour and how they interact with other members of the herd, or what they do if they're by themselves. Because if you can see them and know them like that, then you're going to know them much better when you're out. And that gives you opportunities to be prepared. And again, it comes back to that awareness. Awareness gives you choice in how you respond. And that's so important in building confidence, because if you are unaware and things just happen and get out of control, it's really going to, again, it's going to undermine that stuff. Whereas if you can come from a place of awareness and choice, then you can make sensible decisions that are going to help you grow together. And that's the key, I think, as well, is being able to grow as a partnership. So undemanding time together is really going to help you achieve that. Spend a bit of time just grooming your horse on a day when you're not going to ride afterwards. Notice where he likes to be touched and doesn't like to be touched, and how does he tell you that? Tune in and notice and get to know their unique personalities, because we all know that they have them. And if you can tune into that, then your experience together is going to be so much more enjoyable, and the confidence will just come as a natural byproduct of the relationship. I think that's really important. And just experiment and try things out. Do things that are fun. Go and look up how to click a train, or how to do something at liberty, or whatever it is, and go out and try it out. And there doesn't have to be right or wrong. It's just learning and growing together.